Count your many blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God has done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings and see what God has done. Oh look, we're back again. Woo-hoo. Why are we back again? They're doing a thing.
Yes.
A military thing.
A veteran thing.
A veteran thing.
Yes.
Do you think we should put this up before Veterans Day then?
Or we could do it with another veterans thing. Because we're going to be doing the parade that day too.
Well, we're going to be doing the parade, but I was also going to put up the that Veterans Museum and the little Veterans Memorial thingy that we saw.
Oh, we're going to have a full day.
Which is why I was like, maybe I'll do this like the Friday before.
Yeah.
Since Veterans Day is a Monday.
That'll work.
And then we can do the parade and the other veteran thingy in the afternoon. Because that gives us like 3 veterans things.
Yeah.
And that's if we don't go to the cemetery.
Exactly.
Although, yeah, we have shared the the cemetery once for Veterans Day, but we usually do that Memorial Day.
Right.
So it has to do, it's like one of those, do we want to's? Or do we want to wonder? What do we want to do? We never know what we're doing.
Yeah, usually the cemetery is best for Memorial Day.
I know. Because, you know, it's for dead people, not living people, and Veterans Day is about the living people.
Right. How do you become a veteran? Easy. Survive the first battle.
Technically, that is correct.
Yeah. Oh, there, Christmas carnival.
Happy Veterans Day to all of our veteran followers. If you've been in the military service in any way, shape, or form, we salute you. I know my salute sucks, but you know what? Sorry. I was never a very, was a non-military person, although much of my family is. And I would be a very terrible military person because I'm not very good at following directions. Our video today is in that theme of veterans and honoring them. I hope you enjoy it. Well, before that, we have the race. I have chosen airplanes because, well, it's the closest thing I could find to anything military related. So you get to all the planes, which covers like 2 of our groups. Anyway, ready? Here we go. Shout out time. Here's a shout out just for you. Support me, so I support you. This shout out is for our friends. Let's see who it is today. Ready? Yeah, maybe. There we go. All right. So we got She Stole, there's Distracted, there's Eric, there's John, there's Cruising Nuts, there's Richmond, there's Nacho Daily, there's Kaz, there's Goat, Lower, M&J, A&G, there's Shorty, Brits, Justus, Jacob, Sylvia, John P, let's see, Marketplace, Ray, or Rye, I should say. Ogden, and then there's, let's see, Glitter, there's Launch, Rowdy, Crazy, there's Catching, Jamaican, there's Principal, Richmond's going towards the lead. Is it going to be Richmond today? It's going to be Richmond today. Hang on a minute. Alright, so this is Richmond. This is Richmond's place, Homestead. Matthew and Rebecca, which I never written down, so we're going to put that onto my list over here. Hang on a minute. There we go. Added you to my name list. Well, maybe remember it. You guys don't pop in very often, so it might take some time for me to remember that. Alright, there we go. And then homesteading, learning how to be more self-sustaining, self-efficient, and self-reliant. Kudos to you. I cannot do any of those things. Scratch cooking, canning, crafts, building, all of the above. And then here's some things they haven't posted in a little bit. Got some shorts. And then, of course, some lives we did last year. So check them out. Like, share, comment. Have a good day. I think she told us about that.
Are they cooking?
It's the 8th. We'll have to look at that. I want to say we have something on that day. But it may just be... Huh?
I got my walking stick.
There's a hook on the bottom of your walking stick.
Oh, that way you can grab somebody's attention.
Is that even allowed?
We were in church praying for you.
Thank you.
We saw you that night.
I don't know if you want us to cut them or free.
A great history.
Is there such a thing?
Hello.
For them it is.
I see you every time you come.
Exactly. We're like, will they remember us? Oh, of course.
Well, and you had a website going, I was checking that, and you didn't have much stuff on that.
Guy on the cross thing. Anymore, it's, half the fun we have with this place.
Well, we're having some events now, and it's really great to have all these veterans around.
Would you like to make some cards for our veterans?
Oh, these look cool.
Yeah, pull up a chair. We got the cards, we got markers, gel pens,
You're
stickers,
gonna go over there?
I'll go over here. I'll be right next to
whatever you
Sort of.
you. Sort of.
Oh, jeez. I love your shirt. Thank you. My sister gave it to me.
Okay. Do you want to listen to the presentation, or?
All right. Ooh. Should we do the presentation first?
Was it start at 11 or?
Yeah, 11. I don't do time it is. It's about 15 minutes at least.
Oh, we got time to make at least one. We got time to make at least one. Oh, let's see here. Question. What do I want to do? Oh, I want a fun sticker. Put this one on the front.
Don't you feel bad at all. Your presence.
I'll put $5
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
I'm still looking for the map, though. There was a map with a walking tour. Another lady said she might be able to find it.
You know, I can tell you, getting that walking tour through the city council was just too much frustration. Yeah, well, we wanted to set up the little signs. Yeah, and they wouldn't allow that.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yeah,
I know lots of people who would love that. That one included.
yeah, that would be wonderful, but unfortunately, it was,
I can understand why they're hesitant, but
well, and some of them are privately owned. So.
yeah, I kind of understand that. That's one of the things when I have mixed feelings about privately owned things, because I understand privacy, but at the same time, you have people like my husband
Yeah,
who love history.
Yes.
Just even if you have something outside the fence that says this was a historical place and here's why, that kind of gives
would be
us, that backstory of the building, the town, the people, and
we
things like
had
that.
it down to
Leave
where
only
it was just
memories.
going to be a little QR code
Yeah.
on places, and
Maybe we could do like a virtual map instead.
we may do, we kind of, once we couldn't get anything through the city council, we kind of let the project sort of lay for a while, so.
Understandable. I'm one of those people who I prefer things that are interactable.
Yes,
And
that's what we thought.
I figure for the newer generation, if it's interactable, they're going to pay a little bit more attention.
Yes,
And don't get me wrong, I can't do any of that, but I know some of the new generation can. And so maybe if you approach like some of the college or high school kids and say, hey, we have this idea. and you can kind of tinker with it. Maybe somebody who's like my husband, who's history interested, could take over that
Sure.
and express that passion that way.
That would be a good idea. We'll visit about that because that would be.
I mean, just throw it out there and just say,
Yeah.
you know, all they could do is say no.
That's right. That's why. We had. Well, we were going to do big things where
or
they
in that-
would, you know,
that
similar to
bowl.
what
Okay.
Basin.
Yeah.
you know, it was just.
Thank you.
It was just such a frustration.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
There's nothing more than it would aggravates my husband more than questions that can't be answered.
Well, yeah, because I love it when you ask like 23 questions, they can answer maybe 2.
And it also entertains me when my husband will call a historical archives, and I'm like, what? I've never heard of that. And I'm like, really?
This is in your county, guys. Come on now. You know,
I'm like, I told my husband, I swear you know more than most people do about the state. Told me he needs to become like the state historian because he knows more than anybody I've ever met.
laugh at. I was trying to study these small towns over in Butte County. And what was so crazy is that the place where I found the information wasn't in the Butte County history book. It was in a book for the town of Faith.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's way out there at the far corner.
I know Faith.
Yeah, but what's funny is they used to have a town that was called Spook. They used to have a town called Cooper. There used to be a town that was called Chalk Butte. There was just all these little tiny, but they were big enough that they got schools. And sometimes they get a general store, or there was one out there called a Vars. And basically what the people there did is that they were freighters. People would come down on the railroad, and then they would unload in Faith, or they'd come down by Phillip. And people would show up with their wagons and help them move to their new homesteads out there in the middle of Timbuktu.
Wow. Nice.
And then the county said, well,
Make some cards with us? Good deal. You make some cards with us? Good deal.
And,
Okay.
we're going to move your kids over to school.
You're not gonna? Well, we got, you don't have to say much. We got stickers.
I'm not much of an artist or a writer, but that, I don't think he'll be able to read it. But you know what? That's all right. It's the thought that counts.
Yeah, history is so fascinating. I love it.
What are you saying in these messages?
I've been saying, thinking of you, get well soon.
Thank you for your service.
Yep. You're awesome.
I did that.
There.
I don't know. Again, I don't know if I'll be able to read it, but
Have a wonderful day.
our thoughts with you, because sometimes you feel forgotten.
Thank you
You know.
for your dedication and service. Thank you for your sacrifice.
Sometimes you just need to know that somebody cares.
And I've been drawing lots of sunshine, pine trees, mountains.
That'll be your department.
What more color?
Yeah, those little markers are hard to get the caps
First
off.
time they really are. He's around for over years. That's why we had him.
Exactly, yeah. Apparently you're good at these. Apparently, yeah. Use you where you're useful.
And how do you sign these, Kathy?
I didn't put a signature on mine.
Oh,
You can, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just first name.
Oh, that's great. It's amazing. Oh, the dogs are just.
Gotta get over there. Tam getting lots of pictures, I hope.
I would assume so. She's always
Then
good
I'll
at
take
that.
the picture dogs.
I was gonna say, you might want to finish what you're working on, and then we got about 5 minutes, baby.
Go find a good seat.
Yep, yep.
I did yesterday. And it was made good, we're getting some.
Yeah, a nice little stack there.
None of them.
Next one up. Now we're gonna go find a seat, then we'll be back.
Okay.
Mine as well.
You're gonna pretend to know what gravity is.
Gravity? Oh dear. I'm gonna go around this way.
Yeah. Give her.
Did you? That's what I wanted.
You're so pretty. You're gonna make somebody a really nice friend someday.
He's mine.
He's yours?
Part of the program is after
Good idea. Good idea. Yeah. Good idea.
I'd go all the way over, but I don't trust those little chairs.
Help yourself. Make yourself sure.
Oh, goodbye.
Is it there?
You're there. I can scoot over one. Just depends on where you want to sit.
Sit on somebody's lap. Right?
Program today, and we are so happy that all of you came to honor our veterans, and that you could be with us today to share our museum. We love this place, and we are glad to have it open and available to the public. Our veterans all hold a very special place in our heart, and we have some people here today that I think will be a wonderful treat for you. Please welcome Jim Preston. He was 30 years. He retired as a colonel, and he's a local rancher now. And well, I know you have cows. Anyway, he's illustrious, wonderful man. That's what he asked me to say about him. My prices are going to go up. With all respect, let's welcome Jim Preston.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Wonderful introduction. I just want to say I am Jim Preston. I spent 30 years in the Army. It was Army National Guard, Reserve, and active duty. So I hit them all. And I just wanted to start just by not talking military. I usually tell a story about my wife.
Uh-oh.
And this isn't going to be any different.
Yeah.
Dee and I have been married for over 50 years. And ever since we were married, we got, 50 years. And every day, when she woke up, she'd kiss me on the cheek. And then she'd say, Jim, you're good enough for now. It took me a long time before I realized that that wasn't a compliment. So,
Well, you were
I'm
not.
here. I'm going to be good enough for now until the next speaker gets up here. But I just wanted to share a few words, not a lot. Colonels are known for talking and going on. I'm not one of those. I tried to cut it way down and make bullet comments. And I'll do that. So if you got any questions later on, I'll take that one. There's not a crowd here. It's supposed to be 10 minutes or less, and I can do that. And I'll just start out by, I have to make notes because I have a tendency to forget things, right? So, I'm going to just talk about my career, and I'm not going to go through and brag much, but just tell you what I did and how I got here. That's primary. If I had to name this speech, it'd be falling through life. And I think you'll understand, because some people have a plan in their life. I kind of go bing off the walls and whatever, end up what turned out to be pretty good for me. And so I feel I was fairly fortunate in my life and in the military when I got to do it. So, in the early 70s, some of you, or most of you maybe, remember what it was like for the military. It was, in the United States, the military was not overly popular. It was, we had riots, race riots, military people had things thrown on them when they were coming home from Vietnam. It wasn't a good thing. And so, and that's, when I got there, I got commissioned and into the, I got my lieutenant rank, early 70s. And I don't know if you, who all remembers the lottery system? Okay, so you are, my lottery number was 89, and I think it went up to 280. But I'd already got in the ROTC program, so I was pretty much committed. I think when I found out my lottery number was 89, I figured there wasn't much I was going to do. And I'd already joined the ROTC program. So, how that happened, when I was in college at the University of South Dakota, I got a call from one of the cadets. I didn't know him, I didn't see him, he just called me on the phone. And he just wanted to know why I wasn't in the ROTC program. And that was probably a good question. I didn't know. And he kind of talked to me, and it would sound like I was after looking for money, but one of the things they did say, you know, if you join the ROTC program, when you become a junior, you'll get $50 a month. Now, to a college kid back in them days, wow, that's nice having somebody give me $50 a month, and just for doing what I did there. So I did that. That's how I got into the military. And then they sent me to Fort Knox, Kentucky, where I got to operate tanks and stuff, and that was a lot of fun. Just all the big toys they had that I got to do. You know, I got to work in some explosives and get to blow things up. And so it's just a variety. If you haven't been in the military, the things most civilians wouldn't get to do, which would be, you know, shoot a machine gun, run over trees with a tank. Stuff you weren't supposed to do. People took a chance on that stuff. They also, I was in the military, Fort Knox, and then Fort Leonard Wood, which is in Missouri. Got married, and that was kind of nice because the Army didn't issue wives at that time.
Oh, man.
So, went home, got my wife, and came back. And we were married, I think it was 2 wonderful years we spent together there. It was just a lot of fun. You know, no kids, no responsibility, except for the military. And I enjoyed what I did there. So we got married. Then we had really quite a decision, because I did enjoy the military. My wife probably enjoyed it more because she got to do a lot of things. And when I was training and stuff, we were in Alabama for a year. She got to go through all the mansions and that kind of stuff and see a large part of the country that we never had a chance to see. We decided to come home in 1976. Some of you may or may not remember, but the big song back at that time was Convoy. You guys remember that? Mm-hmm. So we enjoyed listening to that pretty much all the way back from Missouri when we were coming home. And my first full-time job, I worked as a carpenter for a while, but then I got a job at Custer State Park, which was really, I felt lucky for me, because that was just a wonderful place to work. And I worked there for 17 years. And I got to thank a little girl, because when I came, I was applying for a job. The gal that was the finance officer there at that time had got pregnant, and she quit her job, and I got it. That little girl, every time I'd see her, I'd thank her for taking that time to be born. So that's what I say, I kind of fall into these things. It's pretty good. And then a friend of mine, Chris Cowan, she gave me a call and said, Jim, you ought to join the National Guard. And what I said, why? And what she did was, essentially, what hooked me was talk about the financial situation. I don't know if you remember when you were young having kids and stuff, you just don't ever seem to have enough money to make things go around. I'll just tell you one thing. One of the reasons I joined, because they give me some little guard pay, but at that time, house payments were $129.
Wow.
Well, my wife just said, yeah, that was a lot. Anyway, in the National Guard, I got to see places like China, Korea, Panama, Hawaii. That's a hardship tour to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Turkey, Greece, etc., and then a large part of the continental United States. Then I took a job with the Custer School District, and then with the city of Rapid City as their finance officer. Sometime in there, I spent 1 year at the War College. It was the Air War College, that was Air Force, but they sent members from different branches to the War College school. And I was fortunate enough to do that. At that time, they only took 12% of the officers. And so, again, I felt pretty fortunate to get to do that. And Dee enjoyed that, like I said, the mansions and stuff. Then at City Rapid City, I held 2 department head positions. They said, if we got a temporary job for you, not only are you going to be the finance officer, you're going to be the human resource officer. Oh. And this was temporary. It lasted 7 years.
Very temporary.
But I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the work and stuff. And then I've also been on the electric co-op board locally, and then the statewide South Dakota Rural Electric Association board. So I feel fortunate to run into a lot of things that were beneficial to me and helped me out a lot. And with that, a crusty old sergeant major used to tell me, Lieutenant, if you're going to give a presentation, 3 things. Stand up, speak up, and shut up. I'm going to do that now. Thank you.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here.
Well, you should tell them how I got this job. She asked about 15 people.
I went to the Legion Club to bingo, and Jim wasn't there that night, and everybody that we asked, they said, well, check with Jim Preston, he'll do it. So that's how Jim got the job. We are very glad you came. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I would just like to take just a couple of minutes before we introduce our next speaker, and I would like to just get a show of hands of how many veterans we have here. Wow. That is wonderful. Thank you so much for your service. We are so glad to have you with us today. And now we have a special treat. We have a lovely lady who, for her time, she was a groundbreaker. She is my neighbor. She is a wonderful woman. And she has had the experience of being in 2 branches of the service, and we are so very proud of that. Please welcome Marilyn Moe.
I'm not too sure my stories are going to be as exciting as Jim's, but I'll do the best I can. In 1974, I graduated, or 72, I graduated from high school. And I went home, and my dad says, what you got planned for the future? Future?
That's a thing?
Well, if you plan on living here, you have to have a job, you have to pay rent, and you have to abide by my rules. And I'm going, well, I already have a job lined up, that's easy. I think I can pay rent, but abiding by rules?
Oh, no.
Especially So I went down to the local recruiting station and joined the Army. By 6 o'clock that night, I was on the bus to Fort McClellan, Alabama.
Oh my God.
Dang.
Called my mom and said, send my toothbrush. She goes, don't you need anything else? And I said, nope, they told me they're going to provide everything else. From that day forward, they provided everything else to me. From Fort McClellan, Alabama, I was there 8 weeks. I went over to Fort Polk, Louisiana for MOS training, specialty training, the supply. Fort Polk, Louisiana in 1970s proved to me that the military was definitely a man's world. It was going to be tough, and I knew that. But the best part is, today, there are so many fields open now for women in the military that we even have pilots out at Ellsworth Air Force Base flying B-1 bombers. So that's got to say something for us women. So after I was done with my MOS training, I was fortunate to go to Brooke Army Medical Center, which is located in Fort Sam Houston, Texas. And I was there for 2 years working as a supply sergeant. After I was assigned there for the 2 years, I was given orders for Nuremberg, Germany, for the Regional Personnel Center, working as supply and administration. So I went over to Germany. Spent 4 years in Germany and absolutely loved it. Germany was the highlight of my career. I got to drive a Deuce and a half. Most people in here probably know what a Deuce and a half is. It's a tactical, military tactical cargo truck that transports personnel and supply. But this truck was huge, and I was 5'4" and 120 pounds. So they had to make a special step platform on the side of my truck so I could do it. The best part of that truck was we got to run supplies from Nuremberg, Germany to Frankfurt. And so we'd be going down the Autobahn at 45 miles an hour. I mean, if anybody knows about the Autobahn in Germany, there's no speed limit, okay? So we'd be flying down the freeway at 45 miles an hour, and there'd be Lamborghinis, Alfa Romeos, Mercedes, 160, 180 miles an hour flying past us. And I'm going, this is really cool. But I think that's where I learned to appreciate fast cars. And today, my husband loves the fact that I like fast cars. And all of that. So Germany was very interesting to me. I really loved the culture, I loved the people, and I really loved working in the military in Germany. It gave me a lot of experiences. After leaving Germany, I got out of the military. I was discharged from the Army. And I got back into civilian world, and 6 months in the civilian world, I realized this isn't working for me. I don't have guidance, I don't have security, I don't have obedience, I don't have what I was accustomed to for 6 years of my life. So I went one more step and joined the Air Force. My first duty station was March Air Force Base, where I was fortunate enough to go there. At that time, when I went to March Air Force Base, I didn't have to go through basic. Everything just transferred over, so I went directly to the Air Force. But at March Air Force Base, I attended the NCO Academy, where I was fortunate to meet my husband, Mike Hicks. He was also on active duty in the Air Force and a career veteran. So there was a reason why I was supposed to go to the NCO Academy, I guess, besides getting a rank, which helped. After leaving March Air Force Base, I transferred back up to Fairchild because that's where Mike was on duty, and I wanted to be closer to where he was. So I went up to Fairchild Air Force Base, and I was assigned to the base hospital. And I don't know if anybody in here knows about the hospital facility up there. It wasn't located on the base, so it wasn't in a secure area. While I was at the base working at the family practice clinic, there was on the 20th of June in 1994, there was a gunman, D. Melberg, 20 years old, an airman, that came to the base. He had on him a MAC-90 assault weapon with 80 rounds of ammunition. He came into the hospital and he shot the 2 psychiatrists that had diagnosed him with personal disorder. He shot both those officers and then proceeded to move through the hospital, shooting anything that moved. He came down the hallway to the clinic area where I was at, and I was in my office and I saw all these people running past my window, and I'm going, what in the heck's going on? And then I heard the gunshots. So I take off out the exit door, the two NCOs came through a door. They hollered, "There's a gunman behind me." So they went through the door, and I followed after them, and I heard a gunshot, and I saw the window shatter next to me in the door. I got into the parking lot, and everybody's yelling, "Run for the field." Now, this is where my Army kicked in. It said, "Why do you want to go to an open field when somebody's shooting?"
Yeah, right?
I dove into the bushes. Heels, skirt, everything, right into the bushes. I laid in the bushes and I watched Dean Melberg come out of the hospital and proceed to shoot people in the parking lot.
Oh my God.
There was a security police officer that arrived. He got off his bike, he was on a bicycle. He got off his bike, he pulled out his 9mm Beretta, and he hollered at Dean Melberg, "Drop your weapon." Well, Dean Melberg turned and fired at him. So he took a military firing stance, shot 4 times. 2 of the bullets went past and missed Melberg. The 3rd one hit him in the shoulder, and the 4th one hit him between the eyes at 75 yards.
Wow.
So we all know that the dear Lord was with us that day. When all was said and done, he had shot 22 people,
Ow.
and he had killed 4.
Wow.
You know, I look back on the experience, and it affects me in some ways, but I don't think about that as much as I think about all the wonderful things that I had the opportunity to experience while I was in the military. And I love being in the Army and the Air Force. I love the camaraderie. I love the people that you connect with. You never forget those friends. We still have military friends to this day. Mike and I and my daughter she's now joined the Air National Guard, and she's stationed at Fort McCord. Not Fort McCord, I said that before. McCord Air Force Base in Washington. But, you know, we still have all of our friends, and that's what's important. And we still, you know, really, really try to stay connected with the veterans. Veterans are very important to all of us. They make a lot of sacrifices. But the best part of being a veteran is having your support system. Having your parents and having your family and having your spouse. Without them, Mike has been my biggest and most outstanding support system. Without him, I don't know what I would have been today. But I just want to thank every veteran that's here. Every experience you have in the military is important, and when you have an opportunity to talk to somebody about it, talk to somebody about it. And if you can't find anybody, call me, because I can go to you. And so thank you. I appreciate it very much for letting me speak to you. Thank you.
What a wonderful, powerful story. Thank you so much for sharing that. I don't think that
Nice job.
we realize how much risk there really is in our whole world today. I would like to invite you. Marilyn was kind enough to bring several of her scrapbooks and books, so if you would like to take a moment and take a look at what she brought. It chronicles her military experience, and they're beautiful pictures, very well done. And they're right back there on the little sewing machine. We have another special treat for you today. Josh Roberts, why don't you come on up, Josh, from the South Dakota Service Dogs Association. I'm going to let him tell you about this. We are so excited. This is kind of an area that is always near to our heart if you are a dog lover. It is, we know how amazing dogs are, and we so appreciate that you can be with us. Please welcome Josh Roberts.
Thank you. So when I do speaking engagements, I never use a script because I feel like the most powerful thing you can do is to speak from the heart, right? So first of all, I just want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. To follow those stories is very difficult. That uniform is still looking on point.
And she had to take it in.
That's so. I was a drill sergeant for 5 years, so I would have been the one yelling at her at basic training. My nickname was the Soul Reaper for a reason. So I appreciate that you wear it with so much pride, and I think that speaks to the heart of what we as a nation are. I think right now more than ever, You can listen to all the noise out there, and they talk about how divided we are and all of these things. And the fact of the matter is, if you look in this room, we're just Americans, right? And a heart of an organization like South Dakota Service Dogs is making sure that we take care of not only the veterans, but also the first responders that have served our country and our community. So our organization exists. I'll give you a little background. I joined the Air Force I graduated in 1999, joined the Air Force in 2002. 9/11 happened a month after I got married, and so my wife and I went back and forth. I didn't want to expose her to that military lifestyle, but I think she realized that I had to do something, and so she encouraged me to join, and went to join the Marine Corps, and they messed up my paperwork, so I was like, well, I'm going to go somewhere else. Ended up joining the Air Force. I built bombs for about 20 years. I don't know if you've heard of ISIS, but I built the bomb that killed the leader of that. So
Nice.
At the end of the day, I did 5 years as a drill sergeant in Air Force Basic Training. My son right now is 20 years old. He's on an aircraft carrier in the Red Sea, doing his part for our country. But I am joined today by Adam Watson. Adam was a Marine Recon. So if you're not aware of what that is, that's Marine Special Forces. I have Holly Soper. She's our executive director. Holly served at the RCPD for years, doing a very difficult job with them, especially with the homeless community there in Rapid City. So we also have Josh Crump. Josh served in the Air Force with me, and then I also have Walter McDuff, who also served in the Air Force with me. And so as you have the opportunity to hear their stories, which I'll get to in just a second, I hope that you gain an understanding of what these dogs do for our veteran community. So some statistics for you. Right now, South Dakota has 17,000 disabled veterans. And of those that served in the Vietnam War, they diagnosed between 30 to 50% of all Vietnam vets have severe PTSD. And sir, I will tell you, our experience, we were thanked a lot. You were not. So I do thank you for your service, and I thank you for what you did for our country. First responders, 30% of all first responders have been diagnosed with severe PTSD. Right? What they see, they can't unsee. Right? And so it's not just war. It's going into a burning building. It's having to try to resuscitate a 2-year-old who is drowning in a pool. Right? It's going onto the scene of an accident on the highway that a highway patrolman has to deal with for the rest of his life. And the problem is, when you see these things in combat, or you see these things out in the world like that, you internalize it because you're not going to go home and share with your family the gory details of what you saw. And eventually, after a certain amount of time, it starts to eat at you. And it eats at you, and it eats at you. And so what we found is that a lot of veterans turn to either alcohol, substance abuse, or suicide. The divorce rate amongst those two career fields, first responders and military, are extraordinarily high. And some career fields in particular have even higher numbers than the average. The VA system is sorely underfunded and undermanned. And so what that leaves, it leaves the rest of us to have to deal with a growing problem of veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, all of these things that are tearing families apart. And I think we know that family is the root, it's the soul of America. At the end of the day, we exist as an organization because we are not going to abandon our brothers and sisters to PTSD, to suicide. The rates used to be 22 veterans a day commit suicide. 22 a day. If you do that math in your head, that's extraordinarily high. I'm here to tell you those are not accurate numbers. It's closer to 23 to 25, and it's getting worse. The VA recently proclaimed that they were $220 million in the hole.
Oh, wow.
Right? We got an email saying we may not get our disability pay. Where does that leave our guys? That leaves them with us. We exist to provide highly trained service dogs to veterans and first responders at no cost to them. And you need to understand, these dogs cost us about $20,000 to $30,000 to train at the end of the time. It's a 4-stage period. It takes between 15 to 24 months. And don't be fooled by the service dogs that you see walking around Walmart. Right? A fully trained service dog, which the 4 of these service dogs are in training, they're not even fully certified yet, and you can see how well behaved they are. A fully trained, qualified, certified service dog, you should only have to give the same command once every 30 minutes. Okay? They are able to smell the chemical composition of your body, and they can react and know when you're going to have a panic attack. We train our dogs to go and retrieve their medicine for their handlers. The dogs will go get keys. The dogs will block the handler from moving forward if they know that the handler is about to get into a situation that will cause them to panic. These dogs are absolutely incredible. They're phenomenal. But they're not free, and they're not cheap. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We're entirely donation based, and I think there's a beauty in that because we don't owe the government anything. We can do our program how we see fit to make sure that our guys are getting the best care possible. There's no breed that we have to hold. You see a German Shepherd, we have a Lab, and we have 2 poodles. Right? Who thought poodles? Poodles make incredible service dogs. They're smart, they're intuitive, they're gentle, they're loyal. It takes most of our guys between 15 to 24 months to go all the way through the program. And so the way our program works, we have breeders that will either donate a puppy or someone that has their own dog can do an application. Our trainers, who are very, very highly qualified, evaluate the dog for certain characteristics, calmness, the ability to maintain focus, things like that, right? So a police dog does not turn into a good service dog because a police dog is working all the time. Service dogs do their job, but they're also a pet. They're also a companion. They're a best friend. Once we approve their application, we then pair them with the handler, and then the handler themselves does the training alongside our trainers. It builds that unbreakable bond. We require basically 1 to 2 hours a week that they come in and do the training with us, and then the dog goes home with them. And then at the end, once they graduate all four phases, the owner or the handler then becomes the owner of the dog, and it's theirs for life. Right? And it's an honor to be able to give that dog to them. And like I said, we invest probably $20,000 to $30,000 per dog, and that is entirely based off grants and donations that we get from organizations, families, individuals. We had an individual last night that donated $20,000.
Wow.
Right? That's incredible. Like I think Holly and I were both literally crying at Texas Roadhouse when he told us what he was going to do for us. But the fight goes on. We still have men and women in combat. Don't listen to the news. We have men and women in combat right now. The problem is going to grow worse. And this is a way that we can take care of our people. To say that we're honored to be here is not even, it's not enough. It's the small communities like Hermosa that make America the great country it is, that I know the 4 of us pledged our lives to defend, that Holly gives so much time to make sure that our communities are safe. Right? We are honored to be able to bring and let you see what our work is doing in the lives of those that we are able to give them to. So my request is that each one of my guys come up, and I just want them to tell you from firsthand experience what these dogs have done for them, because I think that's way more powerful than anything I can say. So Walt, if you would please. Walter is the Director of Education for South Dakota Service Dogs, but he's also in our program, and this is his dog Bomber.
Well, good afternoon. I know we thank the veterans a lot here, but I would like to see you guys raise your hand who are spouses of these veterans.
My mom.
You know, I can't say enough about the spouses because the spouses actually keep us going. You know, so I thank you. I thank my. Honestly, I wouldn't be here if it was for my wife. But yeah, so I retired from the Air Force in December of 22, and I got 7 deployments behind my belt. Felt the effects of them. I feel the effects of them to this day. You know, and what those effects were was, see, he's sensing it. Is that, you know, I couldn't go to stores with my wife. I was a homebody. I just stayed home. Friends, I lost all of them. You know, I just couldn't do anything because it affected me that much. I couldn't be around crowds. Like this is huge for me, you know. To speak even more, I couldn't even go into the house of God. You know, Josh back there is one of our security at our church, and he picked up on that along with another individual that I was having a panic attack. And that was way before I had my service dog. And you know, it's people like that could pick up on those signs that also help us. But I got to go back because Bomber is actually my second service dog. I had Bruno, he's still alive. We just had to retire him in April because of hip dysplasia. And we had anticipated that, so we had bought Bomber, and Bomber was born December 2nd. And so he's 10 months old. We ended up having to retire Bruno quicker than we thought we were. We were planning on around December of this year. But the good Lord said to let him live the best years of his life out. And so Bomber took over. Bomber's been in training since he was 9 weeks old. And what did they do for me? I've already said it. I could go to the store with my wife. I could go to church, which is huge. You know, I go to work. I'm the Pennington County Risk Manager, so I go all over Pennington County. I know I'm in Custer right now, but I go all over Pennington County, and they allow me to do that. They allow me to do my job. They allow me to function through a day by day, you know. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for South Dakota Service Dogs. The other thing that we gotta know about is that, you know, South Dakota Service Dogs is nonprofit. They give us everything free. The training. You know, if they give a dog to a handler, they give the food for, you know, about a year, some vet bills, etc. But what people need to understand is that there not only is the VA having a problem, but service dogs out there in general. There's a wait for service dogs, for a handler to get a service dog, and that could be up to 2 to 5 years for an individual to wait for a service dog. But that's from a paying organization that we pay into. So South Dakota Service Dogs brought Bruno and I in and gave me my life back, and I was that individual that was drinking my life away. My wife and I are about to celebrate our 20th year.
Oh.
And I tell you folks, I'm surprised she's still with me, because I gave her the hardest 12 years after my first deployment coming back, you know, and she stuck by me, and she still does. But the dog, Bruno and Bomber, gave me the life outside of my family, you know, being able to function again in public and being able to breathe. So that's what these dogs do to me. That's what South Dakota Service Dogs does for us. I thank you for your time.
Awesome.
I want to point this out too. Not only is he in our program, but he also volunteers his time to be our director of education. And Walter is going to go to communities. He's going to go to organizations and businesses and educate. What is a service dog? What are they not? How do you recognize a real one? What are you allowed to ask? What are you not allowed to ask? Because there's a danger if you own a business and you kick out a veteran with a service dog, you can be sued. So Crazy Horse Memorial got sued for over $100,000 because one of their employees booted a certified service dog. So the education piece for the community is huge. And I also want to point out that Walter was very instrumental in getting Pennington County to recognize September as National Service Dog Month for the entire county.
Oh, I did not know that.
We want to be very respectful of your time, but I do want to ask for Adam to come up just real quick, if you would, Adam, and maybe share from your experience what Shiloh has done for you.
Yeah. All ready to move? Yeah. How you guys doing? My name's Adam Watson. Josh, thanks for inviting me up here. So this is Shiloh. He's 9 months. I got him from the South Coast Service Dogs. I have a beautiful wife. I have 3 daughters, and they couldn't make it today. They had other obligations to do. But no, South Coast Service Dogs is a great organization, and for everything it stands for and how it has helped me. I did 8 years in the Force Recon in the Marines down Camp Pendleton down there. I loved it. I loved every second of it. I had to get out though. I'll give you a little backstory. I know I'll keep it brief. So when I was overseas, we had a bomb sniffing dog. His name is Shiloh as well, and his name's Shiloh. So well, and I'll get to that. So when we were over there, the bomb sniffing dog, he was a golden lab, and he'd go out on patrols with us every day. And it was me and his dog handler, and then Shiloh. And then we had I was in charge of a squad. So the squad consists of 12 to 8 people, and we'd always go on patrols, and he sniffed out the bombs. And so when we went on the last patrol of our tour, we got really close, and that dog would always sneak out the dog handler's tent. We'd come over to my tent, and he'd do like 3 circles on a cot, and he'd lay down. First couple times, the dog handler was pissed. You know, he's like, "Oh my God, where's my dog?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's fine. He's good. He's right here." And so like 3rd time, 4th time, he's like, "Okay, I know where he's at." You know, so he'd always come over and grab his dog and go. But me and that dog, like, we got a connection. We got that special connection, because when you go see your puppy and you meet your dog, that dog bonds to you, and that's how I felt with that puppy. And so we went on our last patrol, and the Taliban over there, they got really aware of our SOPs, standard operating procedures, and instead of placing 1 IED, they placed 2. And so Shiloh's thing to do was to sit down next to the bomb after she sniffed it out, and she realized it was a bomb. So when she sat down, she sat on the secondary, and
Oh no.
she didn't make it. And so there's always that void in my heart that I couldn't fill, because me and that dog had that special connection. So, and I've always dealt with that with other things as well, but that was the main thing that's always hit me, because I always look back at that puppy, and I'm like, that dog had a special feeling in my heart, you know. And so then I talked to Tony, and I talked with South Coast Service Dogs, and I'm like, hey, you know, this is what happened. I struggle every day with it, and I would love to have a service dog. And so that's when they introduced me to Shiloh, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna name him Shiloh, and it fills that void, and he's with me every day, and he's an amazing puppy. And these dogs, they do wonders. They are my kid, you know. They're my 4th child. So he goes with me everywhere, and I truly appreciate the organization, the foundation that what she stands on. So that's kind of my story, and thank you, Josh, for bringing me up here.
We've got plenty of
Okay,
time.
Josh, do you want to come on up and just share a little bit with Phoenix?
I want to hear all about the dogs. This is just amazing.
He's like, it was my time.
I don't know if I was done.
I'm Josh Crump. I retired out of the Air Force after 26 years. Started in the Army and crossed over. Decided I wanted an education. No offense, but crossed over, but it didn't stop the tours in combat zones. I spent 8 years of my 26 years deployed somewhere in the world, carrying a weapon for combat, and I'm a supply guy by trade. I did 2 tours in Afghanistan, 2 one-year tours working for the Army as an Air Force guy, because they tap us as what they call the Purple Force now. So if we have specialties like we can drive just about any vehicle, we can drive forklifts, we do all that stuff. They tap us to do their convoy duties, so then the Army guys don't have to do it. So we're the ones that run all the convoys in Afghanistan when I was there. I deal with PTSD because of it. My first tour, I was stationed in the middle of Kabul when it was the worst time in Afghanistan history for convoys being hit in the middle of the city. For about every 5 convoys that we launched, one would get hit. It was really bad. They knew where we were going, when we were going. They knew what routes. So they were hitting us hard. So I talked with Tony because he knew me. I knew Tony from the church. And my therapist felt that a dog would really help me a lot in getting back, because I, like Duff, I don't like being in public. My wife would get upset at me, and we've been married almost 35 years. But she'd get upset because I didn't want to go places. I wanted to stay home because that's where I was safe. With Phoenix, he's made a world of difference for me. I'm out in public a lot more because I'm training him, so it gives me a purpose. But he's also there to help me. He's 7 months old, so he's still learning, he's still in training. But I named him Phoenix because of where I was stationed was Camp Phoenix in Kabul. And that's where I lost a lot of friends who were buddies of mine, was in Kabul and at Camp Phoenix. So I felt naming him Phoenix was an honor to them. Also, like you always say, out of the Phoenix, from the ashes come the new. So Phoenix is going to help me become not a different person, but it's going to be able to help me function better for what he's going to be trained to do and what he'll be able to do for me. So thank you, South Dakota Service Dogs. You guys are a godsend for guys like me that, you know, all our wives want is they just want us to be with them during the retirement years. Yeah. And we're so broken that it's hard to do. So this is going to be a big help. I don't know what but he's a godsend. Thank you, South Dakota Service Dogs, and thank you guys for the support that you guys give to me.
All right, so just a couple more minutes. I'm just going to ask Holly. Holly is our executive director. So I need you to understand too, all the people that are on our board volunteer. So not only do they have jobs and lives, but they volunteer their time. And Holly has become a very close friend of mine, someone that I've come to count on. I'm the board president. I don't look like I should be the president of anything. I don't have any qualifications or any special skills, but I am very passionate about taking care of our people. But Holly is the one that puts in probably 60 to 80 hours a week. She does all the placement, she does all the interviews. She goes above and beyond, and she's never served in the military, but what she has done for our community with RCPD is without question equally important. And so I'd just like to ask her to come up. I know she's going to get emotional, but so she has Shadow. Shadow is Phoenix's sister, and so just Holly, you don't have to say a whole lot if you don't want to, but I think it's important that they also hear from you a little bit, just as the executive director, and where you feel the organization is going and why you're part of it.
I just started. So I'm the executive director. I'm not anything special. I love dogs. I love dogs. My job with the RCPD extended from a ministry that I had where we fed the homeless my job with the RCPD was street outreach case management. So I know the people in Rapid on the streets. I've known them for almost 18 years. I know their families. I can tell you about their allergies, blood types. Like I was the mom on the street. I go to their court hearings, I go to conditional housing, work through the court system, try to get them into treatment, things like that. I get very invested in that. The downside of that was that I also had to identify them when they died on the street or when they were murdered or assaulted. That is something I cannot unsee. I still have nightmares about finding them and dealing with that. So Shadow kind of just fell in my lap, let's say. Another handler had her. She came back with, She did not come back with Phoenix. She came back with her other brother, and one of our handlers had her for a little bit and was unable to keep her. She was at the office a lot, and I watched her when he was out of town, so I've been fostering her, and her and I have 3 other dogs, but the things she does for me and realizes for me, and even my kids brought it to my attention. So, so she is my service dog now, and we're in training together. South Dakota Service Dogs has been on my heart since it was started by the founder, and you know, I work for the police. I grew up in a veteran and law enforcement family, so I understand. I remember my uncles coming home from war, and that they weren't the same. My daughter went into the infantry at 17, and she's not the same since she came home. So I deal with along. South Dakota Service Dogs. I see. Josh was optimistic about a poodle, you know, but I see what Phoenix has done for Josh. I am blessed to be able to be in the facility and see when the training classes are and watch the changes. I just placed her other brother with a gentleman, you know, and he leaned down next to that dog and said, "It's going to be so great to have somebody as a partner." And I had another guy just tell me he wants a reason to wake up in the morning, and so things like that. I don't want to lose anymore. We had a poker run that a bike club gave us a check, raised some money for us. That night, one of their members went home and took his life. After he hugged me and told me how proud of us he was that day, the day before, well, that night. And so it's things like that, and you know, I see what it does to officers. I see there's just so many people taking their lives and so many people that are lost. And Josh was right, we're broken. Like, we're broken. I mean, it's just not just the world things, but the things that we see. I've never been in combat, but I feel like I was in combat on the streets. I mean, I had one of the people, so I had Matthew pull the gun on me, and I'd known him for 7 years, and I had been through the trudges. I just got another one I had sober for 268 days, and he murdered somebody on the res 3 weeks ago, and another one decided to walk back to the streets. So, and I carry that. Josh says don't carry it, but I do. He carries it too. He just likes to tell me not to. But we believe in this organization, just like Walter. I've seen the changes in him with training and coming back, and the confidence that it gives our veterans and first responders to be able to go out. You know, being here, I know it's hard for you. I know it's hard for Josh, but these dogs bring something, and we just want to keep going, and we want to grow, and we want to, like, we have a waiting list, East River. Our dream is to have a trainer out there so that we can help more. I can't place a dog with someone without a trainer. So that's a little bit about us, but yeah, we have some excellent breeders that donate to us, and then, you know, we pay the vet bills and the cost of training. So, you know, we are a nonprofit, and, you know, we love the support that the community gives us, and to have a chance to come out and share some things with you. So that's all I have.
So just to sum up, our mission, right, we have 17,000 plus disabled veterans. I don't even know how many first responders are in South Dakota, but the numbers are astronomically high for post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and we are just one organization out there that are fighting that. We want our community safe, but we all know freedom isn't free, right? Freedom is not free. There's a cost. And it's not just the cost on the battlefield, there's a cost when you come home also. I do believe our government is trying, but at the end of the day, they're limited in what scope they have. And so our vision, right now we have 200 plus dogs in our system. That's 200 veterans and first responders that have their life back. My vision as a president, for the time that I serve, I would love to see that number go to 400 to 500. That obviously takes an increased budget. I'm not here to ask for your money. I'm just asking that you spread the word about us. If you have something that you want to donate, I put a can back there if you really want to. But our website is just www.southdakota.servicedogs.com. If you want to go check our mission, we're doing a revamp. We're kind of revitalizing our organization right now. We have a full board of directors that I think is going to be phenomenal. I'm probably the weakest link, to be honest. So at the end of the day, we are going to dramatically reduce the number of suicides. Like, we're going to. I'm not saying I want to. I'm saying we are going to, because you can see. You see how emotional we get about it. It's real to us. These are the faces of the people that you help. So thank you so much. for the time. Yes, ma'am.
How do you find your dogs?
So we're finding more and more that genetics really matter. So for instance, a Belgian Malinois, right? Those are what the police use a lot. Those are very hyperactive. They need a job all the time, so they don't actually make great service dogs because a service dog also has to be able to chill out, right? So breeds that we have had a lot of success with are poodles, Labradors, Retrievers. We have like golden doodles, Labradoodles, whatever doodle.
Doodle-doo.
Right? They do really well. But the breeders will offer us the puppies, and then our trainers. Our head trainer is named Dan Gullickson. He's out of Spearfish. He's won, I don't even know how many awards internationally for how well his dogs are trained. So he's actually volunteering his time to help us with our program. He and our trainers will evaluate the puppy to make sure they have the right characteristics. You know, can they hold their attention? Can they remain calm? And then once they evaluate it and say that they're good, then we pair that puppy with a handler that's been on our waiting list. The other option is if you have your own dog, you can bring it to us, do the application, our trainers will evaluate it, just like we did with Bonner, and then if they pass the evaluation, then we train the dog that you bring to us. So that's the process. Mom and dad really do play a huge part. Some German Shepherds are great, some German Shepherds are not. Some German Shepherds are aggressive, some are very, very cuddly, right? So it's really about finding the right temperament. You can't say every breed will do. It's just, I have a Frenchie that's an absolute moron. Other Frenchies are great. Right? So, really, it's not my service dog. She thinks she's a service dog. She just eats. So, any other questions though that I can answer?
You ever use corgis?
We actually do have some corgis. I don't like seeing them from behind. Corgis are very loving.
Mine's a corgi blue heater mix, so we've got the long tail.
That would probably be, I mean, honestly, corgis can work. We have a couple corgis in our system, so. Somebody else? Yes, sir.
So are you Rapid City based, Western South?
We are Rapid City based right now, so we're on, essentially, I called for a tactical stand down, so to speak. So for the next 6 months, our founder and executive director resigned, and that left kind of a huge hole. And honestly, as the program has grown, you can't grow too big too fast, and so we want to make sure that we take our time to build a strong foundation so that when people donate their money, they're very confident in where the money's going. We want to make sure, my middle name is transparency. It's not true, but it could be. So even, we feel like if you donate $5, you should be able to ask for our books. And I should be able to show you where every dollar goes at all times, right? So that's a huge part of it, is the transparency, building our financials to a point that any person that wants to get involved should be able to do that, and we should have complete confidence that we know exactly where everything goes. So right now we're limiting the application process to, I'd say, an hour to an hour and a half outside of Rapid, just because we know most people aren't going to drive 4 hours to train once or twice a week. But as Holly said, we have a couple of options. We have a trainer in Watertown that is going to be working with us that can get our guys probably about 95% of the way through the program, and then we will find how to fix that last 5%. And most of those are tasks like getting the keys or getting the medicine. So they can get them all the way through the program up to that point, and then we have a potential for a really great trainer that's about 15 to 20 minutes outside of Sioux Falls. So the idea, the vision, is to get us to all of South Dakota. But right now, I'd say we're limiting it to Rapid City. Just, you gotta start small and then slowly grow. So, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do you take adult dogs?
We can take it. It's difficult because part of our process that makes us unique is that the handler trains the dog and lives with the dog, and so puppies are probably easier, or at least like in that 1 year stage. Fully grown adult dogs, you can't. It's hard to train an old dog to do the trick, right? My wife will tell you that from birth. So I'd say it would be situational. Does that make sense? It would probably need to be a younger adult dog, if anything, but it's mostly puppies, and we'll say within that 1 year range.
Yeah, I was just thinking about people who might have to give up their dogs for some reason.
And you know, a huge, I think, part of our vision also, so our mission is first responders and veterans. But what we want to do is be able to offer people that don't necessarily qualify for our program a list of resources. We don't do group dogs. Like, we won't train a dog just to give the fire department to be a therapy dog. That's not our specialty. But there are organizations that do that, and so we want to build a large, I guess, category of resources for folks that, hey, if you don't necessarily qualify for our program, here's somewhere you can go. There's been a huge success rate with equestrian therapy for veterans, like horse therapy. Horses can literally hear your heartbeat, and so horse therapy, like we want to be able to offer these as resources, even if you don't qualify, or if you have to wait for a dog from us, we want to be able to offer resources to get them help then, not have to wait. So, anything else? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say thank you. You've really touched our hearts.
I think we could say you've touched our hearts also. Like, and we're just a part of your community. Right, I'm just some tatted up dude that lives in Rapid City and drives a Harley. But at the end of the day, I think the beautiful thing about it is I don't think most people would look at me or Adam or Holly and assume that we're out doing these kind of things. But there are a lot of organizations besides us that do this kind of work too. The need is great, and I think anybody can help. Right, so I apologize for the emotions. It's been a very hard 3 months. Like the past 3 months have been challenging. Like financially. Everyone in the United States is hurting, right? And so it's hard to ask people for money, and it's hard to do grants, and it's hard to do all these things. But at the end of the day, the battle is here now, right? The battle is here, and it's for my son, right? When my son comes home from his deployment, because he's deployed right now, I want to know that there are resources out there for him, right? I don't want another family to have to lose a father or a mother from suicide because they felt hopeless. So that's what we exist for. And I would invite you, if you're ever interested, come down to Rapid City. Our training facility is in the mall, the Uptown Rapid Mall. That's where we are. We're right in front of the home goods store. Please arrange ahead of time, right, so that we can make sure someone's there. But if you're interested, we'll make sure that you have our contact information. We're going through a whole rebrand, so we don't have a lot of promotional material yet, but I told you I would make sure that you get it. So if you guys are interested and you want to see it, I mean, we're an open book. So come and see our facility. And if you want to help, that's kind of the last part of it. You know, I hate to say it like this, but the world runs on money. And my goal as the president and our goal as a board is to keep our operational costs at less than 2% so that you know. And really the only paid position in our organization right now is Holly, and she's underpaid for what she does for our organization. Everybody else volunteers, and we're entirely just based off of the generosity of Americans trying to give back. So if you want to donate, you can go to our website. We have a donation there, and that is appreciated. You'll get a letter from me saying thank you, but I'm also available to anyone at any time. And if you're a veteran in this room that feels that you could use a service dog, please do not hesitate to apply. Because I don't think any one of us had envisioned what a service dog would do in the lives of the people here, but I saw a lot of raised hands for veterans. So if you have a son or daughter that is a veteran and is struggling, we only service South Dakota, but we're building partnerships with service dog organizations all over America. That's my dream. I think that's Holly's dream. Is we want to it should be a network. We're all fighting the same fight, right?